A dog was sitting on a grave in Serbia for quite some days, and people started saying she was guarding her master's grave. But what a rescuer found out after investigation was not what people said about the dog. So why was she sitting there? Hey guys, welcome back to another amazing story that will give you deep thought and a lovely emotion. A dog was sitting on the grave for quite some days. People passing by the grave thought that the grave was of her master and that the dog was there because of his affection and love. But it was not true. Then what was the truth? Curious to know? Let's get into the complete story. But before we start, I would request you to smash that red subscribe button and watch the video till the end to conquer what exactly happened with the dog. We all know that dogs are pretty lovable pets, and many people in Serbia adopt dogs. It is also undeniable that dogs can hardly forget their masters after their deaths, and they usually seem to visit their graves each day or weekly to pay tribute to their love and support. The same is the case with this dog sitting on a grave for several days. So let's tell you that it was a common sight in the small town of Serbia, a dog sitting on the grave for quite some days. People passing by the grave thought that the grave was her master and the dog was there because of his affection and love, but it was not true. Initially, it was all locked for the daily visitors, but then gradually the situation changed, and people became curious about this dog. They hadn't seen such a dog before, and they were unable to recall who had adopted such a heavy dog. They started guessing why the dog always sat on the grave. Some people thought the grave was of her master who died, leaving behind his only dog. Some thought the dog was guarding the grave of her master. Other people were curious to know if the buried person was actually the master of the dog or if the dog was sitting there for some other reason. People tried to move the dog away from the area, but all in vain. We all know dogs are lovable and have great affection and loyalty for their masters. So they are often found sitting on their master's grave. It can signify affection and loyalty, but it also means that the dog is mourning and grieving for her master who has passed away. Dogs can get very attached to their human owners, so much so that they refuse to leave them even after death. It's common for dogs to mourn by sitting next to the body of their dead owner or lying down near them while they are being buried. We have shared many stories where dogs were seen visiting the grave of their master regularly and mourning for hours lying on the top side of the grave. But this dog was behaving quite unusually. And to everyone's surprise, street dogs are even more loyal and lovable. Because so few individuals feed street dogs, they are likely to show greater loyalty to the person who does. Because of this, they form an instant connection with the people who provide them with food and shelter. When they become closer to you, they will put their lives in danger to protect you because they care so much about you. Because of the daily challenges, dogs living on the street often have above-average intellect. Because they are accustomed to having people close by, you won't have any trouble socializing with them because of this. Back to the story. People living near the graveyard started taking the dog food and water when it sat on the grave for many days. They tried to make him go home, but she did not listen. She would always return here after eating or drinking water from nearby. People tried hard to get rid of this dog from their town, but it was impossible as she would always come back with some excuse. People also noticed that the dog's appearance was changing day by day. It wasn't looking like a normal day. Rumors started enrolling in the whole area, and Vesna Mihaljowski also got it all ears. One day, the dogged investigator and secure Vesna Mihaljowski decided to see the dog herself and find out what was happening in the graveyard. She came here to find out why the dog was sitting on the grave for days and why people were talking about the dog every time she listened to someone. She wondered why the animal kept returning to this spot day after day and eventually decided to investigate further. First, she thought this dog was not just sitting here because it felt lonely or wanted to be with her dead owner, but she was guarding him against the other animals trying to steal his body. When she arrived again at the grave, Vesna saw that the dog hadn't moved an inch since she last saw it. Looking closer, Vesna noticed something strange. A hole dug beneath the grave with puppies cuddled inside. She also noticed that the dog was looking quite heavy but frail. She was a cute, innocent dog who sat here quietly for many days and seemed tense. Vesna tried to figure out the things as she could not catch the reason for digging a hole under the grave. Was the dog hiding from the cold, or was it trying to reach the person buried inside? Finally, Vesna started connecting the dots. The dog's appearance and the deep hole inside the grave. The bulky look and the swollen body of this female dog. Yes, what she thought right now was just right. The real reason behind the dog's presence finally made sense. She was pregnant and wanted to give birth peacefully without any disturbances. Vesna had an abundance of sympathy for this courageous mother who had harmed her family. She thought how pure a mother's love must be if she already cared so much about her unborn child's comfort. She began to reflect on her childhood and felt an overwhelming sense of affection for her mother. Not only this, she started adoring that female dog with all her thoughts and words, and was truly impressed by her care for her kids. With this, Vesna also realized that she shouldn't leave this poor dog alone and should help her through the process. She knew it wasn't easy, but she had to make it easy for the dog. She tried to take the dog with her, but the dog seemingly refused to do so as she felt safer in the den. Vesna left it all on the dog's will and decided to adopt her with all her kids after she gave birth to her little puppies. Vesna began making frequent trips to see the dog, and eventually she arrived on the day when she realized that the dog was no longer living alone. She was in the den along with her 5 newborn puppies, all equally adorable as their mother. Even though the dog had gone astray, she devoted her life to caring for her children, which at that moment was one of the most admirable things in the world. Vesna had a lot of sympathy for the courageous mother who put her children's safety ahead of everything else and ran the risk of losing everything. Vesna didn't waste any time and took in the mother and her puppies when she adopted them. One thing became evident after they had been caring for them jointly as family members for several months.
No.
One of the puppies looked just like its mother. It seems that nothing, not even death, could stop the love from growing deeper and more meaningful between these 2 dedicated mothers, one human and one canine. Vesna named all the pups. Her favorite was the one who looked exactly like her mother. Vesna noticed that not only she looks like her mother, but her behavior and habits were also like her mother's. So the story gives us a great lesson. We should care for animals, whether street animals or pets. We must understand the situation and what's going wrong with a creature before reaching a self-made conclusion. Vesna taught us that stray dogs also deserve care and love equally as pet dogs and other animals. With this, we must wrap up the video. We hope you like the story and want to share it within your circle. Also, remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video before leaving. Leave your thoughts about this story in the comment section below. Waiting to see you in the next video. Have a great day.